Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our regular council meeting for Wednesday, March 12th. I will call the meeting to order at 9:02 a.m. Are there any, I guess I will ask everyone to stand for the singing of the national anthem. I was going to jump right into the additions.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Cattle possible, Tony's quality as one. Century. Can we stand on Canada? We stand on we stand on.
Now I will ask if there's any additions this morning.
Madam Mayor, if we might entertain adding item number 13.4. It's a letter we received yesterday from the Honorable Minister Adriana LaGrange, and it's to do with the Community Health Needs Assessment Study.
Thank you for that. So 13.4, the letter from Minister LaGrange, add it to information items. Are there any other additions to the agenda this morning? Is there a member of council that would like to adopt the agenda for the March 12th, 2025 regular meeting of council minutes with the addition of 13.4? What's that? Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to be like really on top of it with my neck. I'm going to have a sore neck after the end of today. Okay, thank you, Councillor Gavanna. All in favor? Councillor Clark?
I am also in favor.
Thank you for that. Any corrections or amendments to the February 25th, 2025 regular meeting of council minutes? Is there a member of council that would like to adopt the February 26th regular meeting of council minutes? Councillor Evans, thank you very much for that. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. No proclamations, no public hearing. We have one delegation this morning, but Mr. Gerald Soroka won't be here till around 10 a.m. So we'll jump over that and we'll jump into our decision items this morning. First up is 9.1, 2025 Council Strategic Priorities. Mr. Pat Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor and Council, with the senior management team, conducted a strategic priorities workshop on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. The workshop was facilitated by Ian McCormick of Strategic Steps Incorporated. The report produced from the workshop identified 4 pillars: social and cultural, environmental and infrastructure, economy and governance. Within these 4 pillars, 3 high priorities and 8 medium priorities have been identified for council and administration to focus their time, effort, and resources on for the duration of 2025, and sets the stage for a newly elected council in October of 2025 as they move forward into 2026. The Governance and Priorities Committee received and reviewed the draft plan at the February 19th, 2025 committee meeting and provide their comments and direction to the administration. Mr. McCormick was given directions based on the committee's comments and direction to prepare a final report, including the metrics for measurement and accountability for presentation to council for approval. The financial implications have been the cost for strategic steps was very modest to facilitate the workshop and produce a final report. Another financial implication will be resources that may be required outside of the current approved budget that's required to address and accomplish the high and medium priorities identified in the report. At that time, Madam Mayor, members of council, we're not anticipating any additional costs, but should some arise, they'll be brought to council's attention and perhaps additional resources might be requested. The organizational implications are a responsibility of the CEO and our individual general managers and their departments to implement the strategic priorities approved by council, falling within their department's purview. The service levels implications would include adjustments to service levels which result from the approved strategic priorities. The alignment with the legislative and town plans is any other strategic priorities. As far as the stakeholder and communication strategy, no specific plans for community engagement or consultation prior to the approval of the 2025 strategic priorities. And simply, it's desirable to have that community engagement. However, given the very tight timeframes and simply that this council's term will come to a conclusion at the October general municipal elections, it's not practical to do so, but would certainly encourage the newly elected council early in 2026 when they review strategic priorities and develop a strategic plan to implement a community-wide consultation process. Follow up with circulation and distribution of the strategic priorities report to residents and taxpayers after the 2025 strategic priorities have been approved, and certainly we'll use all of our communication avenues, website, social media, and having printed copies available here at Civic Center for members of the public who wish to have a copy of the strategic priorities. Recommendation this morning is that council approve the 2025 strategic priorities final report and direct administration to proceed with the implementation of the 3 high priorities and 8 medium priorities. Madam Mayor and members of council, in the agenda package, you have a copy of the final report, and I thank Mr. McCormick for the wonderful job he did in preparing this final draft. I thank our communications department for providing the pictures that were inserted. That's really a reflection of Drayton Valley, our heart and soul. In it, we have talked about the sustainability pillars, which are identified on page 6, page 7, and page 8, and they include those high and medium priorities. We talk about strategic thinking and the basis for the need to do so. And finally, I'm very pleased also to append to that report the 2025 strategic priorities, progress, and performance measures. So you can see we've identified very clearly the high priorities, medium priorities, the tactics that have been identified, the desired results. Now, importantly, what are the measurable impacts? This is what we need to be judged upon to show that we're making progress. We've included, for your information, the departments that are have responsibility for implementing them, the time frame in which we anticipate they be accomplished, and also an update and status report. And we've been able to already to report on several of them as contained in pages 1 through 5. And so staff have already been busily working on accomplishing these particular tasks. And, things have been set in motion to proceed very quickly on these particular things. So I would ask Madam Mayor, members of council, if there's any final adjustments to the strategic priorities, and then ask council to consider the recommendation to approve the 2025 strategic directions. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much for the report. Any questions for administration? Councillor Gamana?
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Vincent, for the presentation here and the document. Just that when we discussed last time as well, I think kind of raised these concerns. And again, these are not concerns, but would like to see them in the document itself. One thing is that, we've went through the process and we've identified the high priorities. One thing I think that missed was, like I said, the economic aspect of things and diversity, economic diversity of our community, which I think is one of the priorities for all of us, which I don't see it as a point here. Maybe that wasn't prominent in the discussions. I don't know how to include that here now, but maybe that's a point that we can take. The other thing is, of course, the broken record I always say about diversity and inclusivity. That piece, I think, is not highlighted here as well, where what I think on page 21, I can see that the diversity with an emphasis on Indigenous relations is included. I think, in my opinion, we should add the multiculturalism there as well. Totally agree that emphasis on Indigenous relationships need to be there. On top of that, I think multiculturalism need to be there as well. And also on the Recreation Committee, a couple of days ago, we talked about the Recreation and Culture Master Plan as well. This is, I guess, a high-level statement that we have in the document. Of course, we need to flesh out what does that mean, right? So when we do that, I hope that we will not lose sight of the cultural and social aspect of things and just focus on the recreation, right? So I don't know how to emphasize that on the document, but I think that's very important. It's important to have recreation, and we all agree that that's the way that we can attract and grow our community. But on top of that, I think social and cultural aspects, whether it's Indigenous, whether it's multiculturalism, is going to be a key role, play a key role, bringing newcomers to the community and making them feel like home. So those are the changes or the suggestions that I can say. I think these, I mentioned them on the last meeting as well. Again, not sure how to incorporate them, but just wanted to mention them here. Thank you.
Mr. Vincent, did you want to comment to that?
Well, certainly on the last comment by Councilor Gamana, I certainly agree with you in having a professional recreational background. The matter of the 10-year Recreation and Cultural Facilities Master Plan will be comprehensive. I know that the General Manager for Community Services and Recreation's already addressed that at our Executive Committee meeting. So it's going to be in the design, and certainly the Recreation Board will be part and parcel of that particular process. So the emphasis that they'd like to see placed on it will be addressed and will be incorporated. And to me, when we say recreation, social and cultural. It is very widespread by definition. So what fits Drayton Valley will be what the community requests, and which will be reflected through the input of the Recreation Board. So I think we can address that. If you would like to offer specific wording on the other 2 points that you brought up, can we just simply look at making those amendments now, and council can consider that as part of the approval then? So if you want to go back to your first point.
So the economic diversity of the community to add, when you look at strategic thinking, perhaps under economic development. So are you looking at
So
diversifying our local economy, continuing to diversify our local economy, something like that?
So we're looking under sustainability, pillar number 3, economy. And would you like to add an additional priority then, or would we like
Well, just
to?
maybe a little bullet. So I'm just looking at the strategic thinking. So economic development, it says attraction of retail, commercial, and industrial development in a way to balance the tax structure, so it's not heavily weighted to residences. I wonder if adding a bullet in there, I have such a short-term memory to, what did I just say? To include, to continue to diversify our economic, or our economy, our local economy. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and support local businesses maybe.
Ms. Thompson, have you got that recorded?
To continue, yeah, to diversify our local economy and support, or our economy and support local businesses, something like that. Councillor Cabana? As a bullet? Yeah, I think it's important to include that as well. It's
Okay.
something that we talk about on a regular basis, I think, at all of our meetings.
And of course, Madam Mayor, members of council, once it's approved, we'll republish this with all of the changes and updates on it. So
Okay.
great. And the second point, Councillor Cabana?
And multiculturalism?
Okay. Have we got that, Ms. Thompson? Fabulous.
So,
Awesome.
thank you for that. So, Councillor Cabana, we've added 2 points. One under the economic development for the little bullet to continue to support and diversify our local economy. And the second would be under diversity to add Indigenous relationships and multiculturalism. Right? Those are the 2 we got. Okay, perfect. Any other questions? Councillor Evans, do you have anything in regards? No? Councillor Clark, do you have any comments or questions for administration?
No, I think I'm good, thanks.
Okay, perfect, thanks. So just a question for myself would be similar to Councillor Gamana's a little bit, that we've identified the high priorities, the medium priorities and things like that. I know that one of the questions that came out were, when we look at the higher priorities, it's not that we disagreed, but there was a couple medium that we felt were maybe kind of bordering more towards the high. Is there an appetite, or how would we, I don't want to say shuffle them up, but how would we continue to keep, shine a light on them and ensure that those are, being addressed as well? I know when I look at, healthcare related things, that's completely out of our mandate municipally, and we seem to have been chartering waters that when it comes to healthcare and education and all that we're doing now, and it is just what it is. But, it's something we hear continually about in the community. So I think that, I would like to just ensure that we're still, breaking down that door and doing what we can to support this, as well as, even when we look at alternative solid waste management, if something comes to the forefront, are we going to kind of be able to pivot to that and make sure that we're focusing on that? Like, just to have some flexibility between the medium and highs.
Madam Mayor, we can approach it in one of 2 ways. First of all, council can change the designation today. So if I'm looking at sustainability pillar 1, social and culture, the first medium one is complete a healthcare related community needs study. you have that flexibility and that power to change that from a medium to high. If council's in agreement that that is a high priority, we should be doing it now and identify it as such, and that would be very acceptable. Or we can simply continue to identify it as a medium priority and have that particular flexibility, as you've indicated, to pivot, to give it more emphasis and to elevate it in terms of the effort. I would recommend, and from an administration perspective, it would be preferable to identify it as a high now so that it communicates that to the community. This is council's priority as well as the community's priority. And it gives that more direct direction to the administration that we should be focusing a lot more of our efforts on making sure that occurs more quickly than, you know, just letting things happen sort of thing. So I would agree, if you'd like to change that to a high priority, let's do it now as an amendment to the plan. And the second one, Madam Mayor,
Well, I'm just going to throw it out there and then maybe I'll let council comment on it because I could really throw a wrench in things. When I look at the number one thing being create an updated 10-year recreational cultural, I do see that as a high, but I see that as a medium because I see that's something that's going to take quite a bit of time. I don't see that happening in the next 6 months. So for me, I see that as a high/medium because I think it's ongoing and that I think that there's other things on the list that I would like to tackle, like work with development to identify, I agree, is a high priority. We've identified that, I think, several times. The medium next one is the complete the healthcare related community. I see that as a high because we have put in our application. So with that being in place, once that comes back, I would assume the assessment would happen. So that would be ongoing. I see the public engagement as, you know, medium to high. So I would be fine with that being ongoing. Assessment master plan or asset management plan continually as a high. I'm not quite sure where we are. I think we're over the halfway point with that asset management. So I think we're kind of good there to continue. That's kind of, I see that as an ongoing. Review alternate solid waste management. I see that as a medium, but I see that potentially shifting to a high if other technologies come in. I don't know how, like if we would leave it as a medium or we'd wait till, you know, we were kind of getting to that stage and then it would become a high, or is it on the back burner? I'll just kind of go through them and then I'll let you talk. Next up is build strong relationships with industry, business, and developers. Medium, I see that as a high. That's something we've been talking about for years, trying to create that that kind of landscape here, as well as the next to the market town-owned lands and the creation of tax or development. I see those as high because I see those as, we've been talking about those as years again, and we really want to see some movement. We've got some dirt-to-door workshops happening. We want to see those lands go up for sale and start recouping some of that money, things like that. Review and update policies I see as leaving as a medium. And then I see with provincial and federal political decision makers as high all the time, because I think that's something that, you know, we're trying to not increase taxes. So how do we do that? We have to advocate for grants and funding and whatever initiatives we have going forward. So those are just my suggestions. Maybe I'll throw it around. Councillor Evans, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't really have any issue with the suggestions that you've made. I think we need to approach this as sort of a evolving document. Yes, some things are rated medium, but I think if the right opportunity, information, people come to us, I think we're perfectly capable of addressing that situation and bumping it up ourselves to a high if the situation dictates. That's why I wasn't too worried about where everything had landed. And again, not that I'm against the change in the rating. I just think we'll make that change as the opportunities kind of come to us. But I'm fine if you want to swap a couple of mediums and high, like the town asset management master plan. Again, as you know, I think that's so important. And we have made significant strides with that. I'd be happy to bump that down to a medium if we want to put something else in there. I just think we got to be careful we don't make everything a high priority and throw it at administration that you got to hit all this stuff. Again, I think we'll kind of make that change as things develop and come before us for consideration. That's the way I look at it. That's why I had really, I was fine with the way it was.
Yeah.
And again, if you feel you want to see those changes made and swap some priorities, I'm fine with that too. Like I say, as long as we don't make everything a high priority and throw it back at administration.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want to do that for sure. I just want to, I guess my concern is that there's, like I said, there's some of these that we've been trying to push. So I would like to have the flex. If there's flexibility, then I think it's great, but maybe we do swap a couple out just so we're not adding to administrative's, list of tasks or putting that burden on them.
Okay.
Councillor Kamana?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with the ones on the economy side, the three. We need to hopefully bump it up and make it high priority. Like Madam Mayor, you mentioned, we've been discussing about those, especially the marketing town-owned lands and incentive packages for a while, right? So we could do that. Regarding the cultural, social and rec master plan, we had, like I said, a discussion at the joint rec meeting, and I happen to be the chair for this year. So it looks like we should be able to meet the deadline and make that happen within, correct me if I'm wrong, Hans, within the set time period. We have a few months here and we are working towards that. And we already kind of started that process in the rec committee. Once we have something, we will bring it to council as well. So I don't think that will be a problem. So we can keep it
It's
in
a
my
high?
mind as a high.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Evans.
So do we want to just go through the list
Yeah.
quick and say high, medium, do the
I think
swaps right
so.
now and then
Yeah.
approve it with the changes? Okay.
I think so. I'll just go to Councillor Clark for a comment before we go through. Colin, do you have anything to add or you want to see changed? Or are you okay with just going through each one?
Yeah, no, I'm fine, fine as is.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll start with the first one, 10-year recreational cultural facility plan. Councillor Kamana is suggesting to leave it as a high priority. Yeah, Colin?
Sorry, just have to unmute. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, thank you. Next one is work with development to identify how the town can incent and create affordable housing, high priority. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to go through, Colin. If you oppose, just jump in.
Yep.
Next up is complete healthcare related community needs assessment. That is a medium right now. I'm okay with leaving it as a medium because I don't think, does it add, whether it changes, does it add any additional workload to administration? Because we're having an external party do that, so.
I would suggest, Madam Mayor, that it be changed from medium
To high? Okay,
And again, it's the message that we send to the community. We
Okay.
are working on it currently. It is a high priority and hopefully it will be addressed in the near future. It's on the agenda to be tackled immediately. So
okay, sure. We'll do that as a high then. Next up is we have a medium as make public engagement resonate with citizens.
Madam Mayor, I would suggest that we be medium/high.
Okay. I can see where this is going. Medium/high.
Pardon me?
Okay. And then next up, we will move to environment and infrastructure. We have a high priority for the town's asset management master plan. I agree with Councillor Evans' comment about shifting it to a medium. I think we're still continuing to do that work, but we've come a long way. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go medium.
No, it's,
Yeah.
no, we're not looking for a balance, Madam Mayor, to the chair, to Councillor Evans. It is what council's priorities are, and that's the direction I need and our administration needs to focus on. So,
Okay. Okay, so
but
we'll,
I can tell you for administration, this is a high priority. And though we put it on paper as medium, it's something that we're devoting time, effort, and resources on to get completed in 2025. So council will be seeing this.
okay. Next up, medium priority is the review alternate solid waste management systems. I'm fine with leaving it at a medium, just depending on what alternative projects or pilots may come our way. Anybody else? Councillor Evans?
Yeah, and I agree. I think if, you know, we're looking at some alternatives right now, you know, and through the sustainability, and when something we feel is worth considering or through administration, it'll come to council, and at that point in time, it'll be a high priority
Yeah,
when we look at it. But yeah, I don't think we need all of administration beating the bushes for alternative solid waste systems.
yeah.
But it's, you know, it's ongoing.
Okay. Next up, we move into pillar 3, economy. Medium priority is to build strong relationships with industry, business, and developers to attract growth. So this is our dirt to door breakfast meeting, and this is local, this one, right?
Yes.
I see these three, as Councillor Kamana said, I agree with being high.
So
Yeah.
noted.
All three, so we've got the build strong relationships, engage with the realtor to market and consider the creation of tax or development incentives. That was high. Councillor Kamana, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I think they go hand in hand. You know, the kind of a community growth strategy that we are following for economy, right? So I think having them same priority would probably help administration to figure out what need to be done.
We're good.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, admin.
Oh, this is great. This is the process. This is how it works.
Next up is environment and infrastructure, medium priority, review and update town bylaws and policies. Ongoing, yeah, I see that the same. And then the last is maintain a noticeable presence with provincial and federal political decision makers. I see that as being a high. I see that being on council.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a council high priority. Yeah.
Great. So Madam Chair, members of council, we submit the recommendation to adopt or approve the 2025 strategic priorities final report as amended and direct administration to proceed with the implementation of and will delete the number recommendation of the high priorities and the medium priorities.
Okay, so we'll make a motion to accept the report today with the amendments.
Yes.
Will it come back or?
No,
No.
this is it.
Okay, so this is it. Okay. Councillor Clark, any final comments or questions on the changes and the motion that Mr. Vincent mentioned?
No, I think everything sounds good.
Okay, thank
So
you.
Madam Mayor, I did quickly count up, and if we include in the motion, there are 7 high priorities now identified. and the 4 medium priorities.
Okay. And then the motion, sure. Do you want to do that, Councillor Evans?
Here. Mr. Vincent, I'll move that council approve the 2025 strategic priorities final report with amendments and direct administration to proceed with the implementation of the 7 high priorities and 4 medium priorities. Does that cover it?
Councillor Evans, you're hired.
And the changes to the, I can't remember if it's pillars of adding multiculturalism to the diversity, as well as under economic development to add the economic development point.
Those are the amendments, right?
Yeah, those are the
Yeah.
2 additional.
Yeah, we don't have to specify.
We don't have to specify? Okay,
Yeah, we've
Okay.
got those recorded.
okay.
And
That's
so,
perfect.
Madam Mayor, members of council, just to reiterate, administration will prepare these changes. Final report with the amendments will be circulated to council just for their perusal. Make sure we got it all correct. And
Okay.
upon council's perusal, then we'll start distributing through our various media outlets.
Perfect. Did you capture the motion, Ms. Thompson? Okay, perfect. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? Then I'll call the motion. All in favor? Councillor Clark?
You bet. I'm good.
That is carried. Thank you very much for that.
Madam Mayor and members of council, you have truly earned your gold stars, each and every one of you. And the administration would like to call you forward for a small presentation. So if you
Oh,
come
wow.
before council table,
Is this good or bad?
Oh, the good stars.
Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely.
now I should have our GMs. Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a job. That's a job.
How are you? How's the start?
I'll stop with this person.
Yeah.
This is the fun part of the job when I've always said we don't celebrate enough when we make these particular achievements and milestones. I just wanted to reinforce it. It was a great job, and thank you very much for having belief in the administration and getting this tough task accomplished.
Well, thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. I don't know if this is a good thing or hey, council, you made a decision and you got through it. Congratulations. I'm not sure how this is, but it's fantastic. Thanks for recognizing it. I also want to say thanks to administration. I know as we were kind of talking, try to read everybody's expressions and faces, and in no way, I'm wanting to add to your workload, and I appreciate all the hard work that you always do. I just know that there's certain things that, council has talked about that we see as a high priority and we'd like to see done. And if you're feeling that the capacity isn't there or, something, I would, really appreciate that you just say, hey, this is going to take a little bit of time. We understand it's a high priority, but we might have to shift. I think as Councillor Evans had mentioned too, that, we're open to flexibility and we want to ensure that we're all succeeding and we're not, creating stress amongst our administration. So we appreciate the work that you do and we're excited to move some of these initiatives forward.
Madam Mayor, I think you already know me that I wouldn't hesitate for a moment.
Thank you for that. Next up, decision items. We have 9.2, Mr. Hans van Klaveren, Early Childhood Development Center fee schedule. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chair, and through to the rest of council. I'm happy to present this report on behalf of Bernice Taylor. It's a ECDC report. So, as everyone is most likely aware, of course, by now the funding model of the childcare in Alberta is changing. So in December 2024, Council did set the 2025 fee schedule as part of their budget process. With the new provincial mandated structure, our fee schedule needs to be updated to reflect the changes. The current fee schedule is shown on the second page of this report, and below it, it's the other new changed fee schedule. I wanted to highlight some of the differences in those two. First of all, the administration fee in the first current schedule is gone. We are not allowed to charge an administration fee per month anymore in the new structure. The biggest change, of course, is the high amounts that are part currently of the fee schedule that you see in front of you are gone based on the flat fee that parents now pay. The other fees are carried by the province as before, but now they are not reflected in our fee schedule anymore. The dollar amount for the drop-in daily rate is $66, and we propose, as you can see in the second portion, from $66 to $70 to be included now as well. So the new schedule, that's called 10.1 childcare services as per April 1st, 2025, is the new proposed schedule that has to be now approved by council to be part of our fee schedule for 2025. You see the flat fee over there, and everybody heard about that for full-timers, the $326.25, and a flat fee for part-timers, $230. That's what parents will see in their monthly invoice coming from the childcare center to them as paying for their childcare fee. Then, of course, we have a drop-in fee, like I said, for $70 for people that are coming for just one day. It's good to remember that those drop-in fees are not subsidized by the province, so that's why those are, let's say, relatively high if you compare them to a flat rate for the whole month for full-timers at the set amount or the part-timers. But that's just for the drop-in. They pay basically the full fee that is the cost for our center. The nutrition fees are still the same. They don't change. And you see a deposit fee, and the deposit fee is implemented over there as a calculated fee. We are allowed to charge a deposit, and the deposit will be calculated by the flat fee for 1 month plus the nutrition fee for 1 month. So the notes over there, you see that the nutrition fee is a supplemental fee program. This means that parents have to be asked if they opt in or opt out of that program. If they opt in, and we encourage everybody to do so, and up to now, we asked our current parents if they want to, and 100% said yes, because they realize the quality of that program that we deliver for the children, and let's say organizational things that we take care of in that program is highly, let's say, appreciated. The deposit, as you can see with the double star, is that amount that's calculated when people sign up for our childcare center. On the next page, there's a couple of things I want to highlight as well. So the legal implication, the changes to the funding model are to be implemented April 1st, 2025, and they are based on the directive of the minister. So as childcare provider, the municipality has to sign a new agreement with the province before March 31st, 2025 to receive the newly structured financial funding to operate our daycare service. So we are directed to collect parent contributions as laid out in this new fee schedule. For the service, the core service level of childcare, that's the focus of this new funding. So potential changes in the program delivery or budget structure are not immediately anticipated, but could be part, of course, of a consideration for the future. Currently, we are able to deliver quality daycare with the support funding by our generous sponsors. We have corporate sponsors, a lot of them, and the support, of course, of council and the great staff and management we have at the center. Our caregivers, the parents, have been informed in the past weeks, and there's a lot of communication back and forth. For instance, that survey to see who opt in for nutritional fees, so everybody knows what the upcoming changes are. That's why the recommendation is as follows. The council rescind section 10.1 childcare services of the 2025 fee schedule and approve the new schedule section 10.1 childcare services dash as per April 1st, 2025, as presented in the Early Childhood Development Center fee schedule report RFD 25-049. With that, any questions from council?
Thank you very much for your report. Any questions for administration? I guess the question would be for someone that's reading this or hasn't been following this, what is the difference that the average family for both full-time and part-time is going to see in a change, and for an increase or a decrease?
Thank you for that question, Mayor, and through the chair to the rest of council. The changes really are, of course, individual per family, per caregiver that has to pay the fees. The flat fee is for everybody now the same. That means we charge only the flat fee for part-time or full-time to the parents. When any parent saw a higher portion of fees that they paid to the center before, they will see a decrease. The decrease is for us, let's say, a lot. Like we have a lot of parents that will see a decrease in their financial contribution to the center. If people had a high subsidy rate before, that means that they could have paid less than the flat fee at the moment, they will see an increase. We see a small portion of our parents, let's say, seeing an increase towards them. Over the province, of course, that's different. Anywhere, it's really depending on what the fees were before that people paid. But right now, most people will see a decrease. And that means we are going to that $15 a daycare now flat for everybody. Not everybody was there, but now everybody will be there. Some go up, most go down.
Thank you for that. And for our nutrition program, we've had a lot of amazing support from businesses in the community. Is that continuing? Are we continuing to see that?
Thank you for that. And yes, we are very happy to say that we are seeing that support still coming from our corporate sponsors. So that's continuing, and it's great to see that level of quality being supported by our local businesses.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And thank you to our corporate sponsors for always believing and supporting in the program. If there's no other questions, is there a member of council who would like to make a motion? Councillor Evans? Oh, sorry, yes, Councillor Guillemette. We don't have quorum. Oh, so I'm just wondering if we should table this.
I'm online. Is that not still considered quorum or no?
No, Councillor Guillemette has to remove himself for pecuniary
Okay,
interest.
gotcha.
No. Madam Mayor, it would be my advice and my opinion in the matter that Councillor Kamana is not in a pecuniary interest. We're talking about fees and we're not talking about salaries for staff. And that distinction, he does not have to remove himself from council for that, for this vote.
Okay, so then I guess we will have quorum to go ahead with the motion. Councillor Evans, did you want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion that council rescind 10.1 childcare services of the 2025 fee schedule and approve the new schedule 10.1 childcare services as per April 1st, 2025, as presented in the Early Childhood Development Center fee schedule report RFD-25-049.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? Then I'll call the motion. All in favor?
I'm in favor.
Thank you very much for that. That is carried. And it is just 10 to 10. We have a special delegation happening in a few minutes, but we'll continue on the agenda. Next up is 9.3, Ms. Jocelyn Whaley for the first reading for bylaw 2025-01D to amend the land use bylaw 2024-03D to remove section 7.8.2 and to create a direct control district and redistrict plan 170 Block 17, Lot 20 from Public Service District to the proposed direct control district and to set the public hearing for April 9th at 9 a.m. Good morning, Ms. Whaley. I'll hand it over to you.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. We did receive an application for a redistricting to a direct control, which of course then puts it squarely in the purview of Council. The report is rather lengthy. Know you have a delegation coming up. I would prefer to take questions unless you would like me to read through it.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. So we have a proposal and background information looking to redistrict the parcel at 5029 48th Street from the Public Services District. This is for first reading only. If we were to go ahead with first reading today, then a public hearing would proceed. That would be an opportunity for the public to comment and give their opinion on this. It will be posted online, as well as I believe the next meeting would be, or the public hearing would be slated for April 9th meeting, and comments would come from there. Does anyone have any questions around this report or comments? No. Councillor Gamana, Councillor Clark? If not, is there a member of council who would like to make a motion for first reading? So remember that first reading is, you're not deciding on whether this goes through or not. First reading is allowing the public to have their opportunity to voice their opinion and for us to receive comment and concerns or questions from the public.
And just a comment right now. So this is just to redistrict the parcel itself under to direct control. Correct?
The recommended changes to the land use bylaw would be to add the new direct control district 4, which is an application which will also include a discretionary use for a crematorium. It's just the parcel in question, and it would also be to remove section 7.8.2 from the current land use bylaw.
Okay. And should this go through all three readings, a application for the crematorium would come before council as a discretionary use?
Yes, if you rezone this parcel to direct control, then council has direct control of anything that happens on it.
Right. Okay, thank you. Would you like me to?
Sure, if you'd like to make a motion.
Okay. I'll make the motion that council gives first reading for bylaw 2025-01-D to amend the land use bylaw 2024-03-D to remove section 7.8.2 to create direct control district DC-4 and redistrict plan 170 KS block 17 lot 20 from public service district to the proposed direct control district. That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that motion. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? The only comment that I'll make is that this is the second time that this application has come back. This is for a little bit different. It's to amend the district of this now to go ahead with this. We did receive quite a bit of feedback at the first public hearing. So by passing the first reading today, it allows the community to voice their concerns or questions again, and then that will determine whether we move to second or third or how we kind of carry this. So I'm all for letting the public have an opportunity to speak to this again. And now that it's come back to council. Councillor Gamana, do you have a comment or question?
Just a question from my understanding. I believe that we've went through a LUB review a few years ago, and at that time, this was not zoned as direct control. which we know that why it was not zoned at that, and then now we are looking at, of course, we're looking at, I know why we are looking at it, but why it wasn't zoned at that time?
Through the chair to Councillor Gamana, the previous use up until 2018 was a church. Following that, it was rezoned for a funeral home. And then in your recent land use bylaw renewal, it went back to PS. So things have been amended several times, and direct control has to be an application by the applicant for council's decision. So we would never zone something direct control without an application for direct control.
Thank you for that answer. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So there's a motion on the floor to proceed with first reading for this motion. I'll now call the motion. All in favor?
In favor.
That is carried. And that we'll have a little break from our decision items.
Madam Mayor, one other item, we'd like the council consider a resolution that council set the public hearing for April the 9th at 9 a.m.
Okay, perfect for that. So we're looking for a motion to set the resolution for a public hearing for April 9th at 9 a.m. Is there a member of council that would like to make that motion?
I
Councillor
can make
Gamana?
that motion. Sorry.
Oh, sure. Councillor Clark, thank you. Wow.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was already made.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So Councillor Clark will make the motion for a resolution to set the public hearing for April 9th at 9 a.m. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? And I'll call the motion. All in favor?
In favor.
And that is carried. And that wraps up decision item 9.3. We will circle back around. We have a special delegation this morning for the King Charles III Coronation Medal presentation. I will call down Mr. Tom Thompson this morning to read the report. Good morning and welcome, everybody.
Maybe you'd like to introduce the MP who has joined us?
Absolutely. And we have Mr. Gerald Soroka, our MP, and Susan joining us this morning. Thank you very much for coming. If you want to come down to the podium with Tom, or you're more than welcome, and then we'll proceed with this presentation.
Now, good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. Special morning for us this morning. I'd like to provide some background information in regards to the King Charles III Coronation Medal presentation. A fire administrative assistant plays a vital role in supporting the operational efficiency of fire and rescue services, making them an essential part of the team. While their duties may not involve direct emergency response, their behind-the-scenes contributions are crucial to the smooth operation of the fire service. From managing records and handling communications to coordinating schedules and ensuring compliance with regulations, fire administrative assistants help maintain an organized, responsive service. The King Charles Coronation Medal is awarded to individuals who have demonstrated longstanding service to the fire and rescue sector with at least 5 years of dedication. A fire administrative assistant may receive this medal as recognition for their hard work, commitment, and support to frontline personnel. Their role often involves significant multitasking, managing a wide range of tasks that enable firefighters and other emergency responders to focus on their critical duties. They help streamline operations, ensuring that resources, staffing, and logistics are effectively coordinated. The award also acknowledges the importance of administrative roles within the fire service, highlighting the team effort required to ensure the safety and efficiency of emergency response. For an administrative assistant, receiving the King Charles III Coronation Medal reflects the nation's appreciation of their invaluable contribution to public safety. And now I'd like to call on our Member of Parliament to continue on.
Well, thank you there, Tom, Mr. Fire Chief. Well, Mayor and Council, thank you for allowing me to do this here today. It's quite an honor to present, and maybe I'll do a disclaimer first that I did not want to make this medal a political medal. I wanted to make sure that it was people that didn't know me or had no opportunity to get to know me, unfortunately. And then I had people from the community that were chosen who they felt deserved the medal. And from there, I had two people go and judge or decide who received. One was from Rocky Mountain House and one was from Breton, so fairly close to here. And they were going through the list of people that received the medal. And that is why Ms. Carla Roy is going to be receiving one today. So this is not a political appointment medal where if you don't know me, you don't get one. So it's a brief summary here. Carla Roy has been a member of Drayton Valley Brazeau County Fire for over 18 years. As the admin assistant, she is the definition of support behind the scenes, although often overlooked. Whether it be in the office or sometimes on scene, she played an immense role during the large-scale fires in 2023. Her involvement in the community through Kids Camp and fire prevention is admirable. She is more than deserving of this honor, and they even say in here, I wish I could add more than 100 words is not enough. Thank you, Ms. Carla Roy. So Carla, if you'd like to please come up. Okay, I'm fine with that. This is the last medal I have. I think so. Let's hear it for Carla. Okay. Oh, you're good. Yeah. So. Honor be okay with me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah?
Not the march.
No marching, no marching. No marching. It's just standing and looking pretty. Yeah. How's it going? How about you? I don't know what I. Yeah, you just you picked a good day. And Colin had to call in things, so that's why I've been doing my.
Yeah. Yeah. Hit us on a perfect storm. Yeah, we're a little thin holiday, but we did manage to have a call. Oh.
Thanks, John.
Talking about a break.
Um, we're not in any rush.
Yeah. So as we wrap up this, we do have some people online. As we wrap up this presentation this morning, I just want to extend from Town Council and all administration a big congratulations to Carla for her service, her dedication, and her hard work. She is amazing, and today's a big day. So thank you very much, Gerald, for presenting, and thank you, Carla, for everything that you've done for our community over the years. Just amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to hear maybe just a few words from Mr. Gerald Soroka this morning, and then we will have a bit of a break if everyone wants to visit.
Did you want me to start now? Okay, well, maybe I'll start off with that. I think everyone's aware that there's an election happening possibly very soon. So believe it or not, this is probably my last official duty to be presenting today for two reasons. One, as soon as the election occurs, I'm not supposed to be out there essentially campaigning. So that's not really going to be true in my case because I'm actually not running in the next election. And it's sort of bittersweet sorrow because Yellowhead boundaries are changing substantially. Actually, Drayton Valley and the Brazeau County will be part of Parkland riding now. So that changes quite a bit. Yellowhead actually starts closer to Edson now as opposed to from Thorsby and almost Stony Plain to the BC border. So because of this huge change, I was not successful in the nomination bid in June of this past year. Sorry. And because of that, I was not being allowed to run. Well, I could run independent, but I think running independent isn't very successfully able to do in any regards. I mean, going back to my mayor and council days, everyone was independent. You didn't have to run for a party. So, but in our federal political system that we have, if you're not part of a political party, it's very challenging to get reelected. So with that, this is why I'm saying it's bittersweet sorrow. Now, I know Mr. Vincent here was saying that I could give some remarks in that about all my accomplishments. And believe it or not, when you're in opposition, there's not as many accomplishments as you might think. Other than standing up and maybe being quite annoying to the government at times, what they felt we were, all we were doing was trying to hold them to account and making sure they were doing the proper things. And over the years, I have to admit, during question period, I've got some very weird answers back. And I'll go back to probably my most bizarre thing, which actually was about the town of Drayton Valley here. I had an organization that was a medical marijuana grow-op. I don't want to say their name, but I think you know who they are. And they were just starting up at the time, and they were looking to see what kind of assistance there was. So I had started my question with, Drayton Valley started as an oil and gas town, but yet, we're looking at more diversification. So because of this new medical marijuana, this would create, over 70 new jobs. What kind of opportunities were there from the minister that, to assist this new business? And they says, okay, the Minister of Environment. And I went, geez, that's kind of weird. I was going for the Minister of Small Business, but whatever. So he stands up and he goes, I understand the importance of Alberta in the oil and gas sector, and that is why I've created the Orphan Well Fund. And I'm like, huh? How does that have anything to do with a medical marijuana grow-up getting any money to assist them, starting up this venture? And yeah, a lot of times they don't listen. They hear just a few words, oil, Alberta, oil, gas. Okay, we know where that's going. And don't even listen to the people that are bringing issues forward. So I think that's been the most challenging part about this government is the fact that a lot of times they don't listen, nor do they understand. I know I was talking with one of the MPs, the Liberal ones, pretty start of my career there, and he said, so is there a lot of oil and gas in your riding? I says, oh, actually, I have mostly all natural resource extractions, that are standard across Canada. And he went, I says, including that, coal. And he goes, oh, we got to get rid of coal. And I says, well, getting rid of thermal coal is quite easy. There's other opportunities, but metallurgical coal is an issue. And he's like, kind of gives this dumb look like there's different kinds of coal. And actually now they don't call it metallurgical coal, they call it steel coal, because iron ore is very malleable. And if you don't have carbon to add to it, which actually makes steel, that's what makes iron ore strong. And I says, we need the carbon from the coal to make it strong. And he's like, oh, well, what else can we use? And I says, oh, it's quite easy. It's called coal. And he's like, no, like what other things are there? I said, it's coal is the only thing that's been as effective to give that quality of strength of steel. And it kind of looks like, geez, this is not something he was even aware of. And he's like, well, I'm pretty certain that, our scientists will come up with something better, and walked away mad. And that's one of my concerns, is this government is bringing forward policies that they don't even understand how it's affecting them or the rest of the country. Because, they want to build more wind turbines, more solar panels, more electric cars. All of those take steel, but yet they want to stop all coal mines. And they don't have that understanding. So I guess sort of, Pat, that's my challenge is to how do you get this through to the people when ideology doesn't actually match logic and common sense at times. So let's hope in this next election, I don't want to go on too long because you guys got a council meeting, but I do want to thank everybody for the years that they've supported me, and I've tried to do my best to represent all the communities equally and fair. I know I put on about 60,000 kilometers on the vehicle, so it's astounding, and people go, oh, that's not too bad. And you got to understand, about probably 45% of my time is spent in Ottawa. So when almost half your time is there and half is back in there, to still put on 60,000, I'm not spending a lot of hours at home, that's for sure. So that's one of the things that I just want to say, that thank you for everyone that supported me, and I very much appreciate it. And maybe I'm looking forward to a nice retirement as well then. Okay, thank you, Mayor Dodds.
Well, thank you very much for that, Gerald. We appreciate the time that you've given us in your service. Thank you very much for your service and your hard work. It's been a pleasure getting to know both you and Susan, and to work alongside of you and advocate with you. And we wish you the most success in your next adventure. And I'm sure if you are deciding on retiring, I feel that it's only going to be for a short time. I don't think that you're going to stay down very long. I think you'll be busy doing something, but who knows? So thank you for presenting to Ms. Carla today. She does an outstanding job, and a big congratulations to her, and a big thank you to you. And like I said, we wish you the best and the most success in your next adventure. So thank you for joining us this morning. And with that being said, I will call a 10-minute break, and then we will reconvene.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll jump back into our decision items. Next up is 9.4, Economic Development and Education Advocacy Committee Terms of Reference. Ms. Whaley, I hand this over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to all of council. As you know, that previously there was an Education Committee and an Economic Development Committee. These were highly operational and somewhat contradictory in their instructions to staff, which led to some confusion and a lack of way forward. So we have proposed the Education and Economic Development Advocacy Committee Terms of Reference today for your approval.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions on the terms of reference this morning? Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion if there's no questions? Councillor Evans?
I seem to be on a roll today, so
Yeah.
keep going here.
You got to carry it, the two of you.
I'll make the motion that the terms of reference for the Economic Development and Education Advocacy Committee be recommended to council for approval?
No, sorry, my apologies. It should say to approve the terms of reference for the Education and Economic Development Advocacy Committee.
Okay. I'll make the motion that council approve the terms of reference for the Economic Development and Education Advocacy Committee.
Yes,
Further, that the terms of reference for the separate Education Committee and Economic Development Committee be recommended to council to be rescinded.
just be rescinded. My apologies. I think the program and I had a disconnect and it brought forward the old recommendation from your GNP committee.
Oh,
So I apologize for that.
oh, no worries.
No problem. Did that make sense so far?
No, it didn't.
Okay. Let me cross out a couple of things here. Be recommended to council, be rescinded. Okay, I'm going to try this one more time. I'll make the motion that the terms of reference for Economic Development and Education Advocacy Committee be approved,
Yes,
and that the terms of reference for the separate Education Committee and Economic Development Committee be rescinded as per RFD 25-052.
perfect.
Did we get it?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson, did you capture that? Okay, wonderful. So we have a motion from Councillor Evans. I will not repeat the motion because we've captured it. Is there any comment, question, debate on the motion? Councillor Gamana?
Thank you.
I'm like Councillor to my right.
I guess the question is, so just to understand, we are rescinding the previous committee, and then it will be a committee of the whole that we are proposing as an advocacy committee, right? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. My only comment is thank you to Ms. Whaley for updating these terms of reference. I know they were a little bit, what is the word that I'm looking for? Dated, okay, dated. We'll go with dated. They were a little bit dated, so appreciate the work that you've put in, and hopefully we'll be able to move ahead now with the new terms of reference under the committee. And I have nothing further to say. There is a motion on the floor from Councillor Evans. I'll now call the motion. All in favor? Councillor Clark?
Perhaps he's muted, ma'am.
Councillor Clark, the motion, I'm calling the motion. Can you hear me? Calling all in favor?
I'm in favor.
Thank you very much for that. That is carried. I got worried maybe that you were somewhere else or not online. Thank you very much for that, Colin. We'll move along the agenda to 9.5, Tuition Assistance Bursary Program. We've got to keep quorum here or we're going to have to halt the meeting. So please don't leave us, Colin. Go ahead, Ms. Whaley. This is yours as well.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. In 2019, Town of Drayton Valley did take a bold step forward with the original zero fee tuition program, with the addition of several sponsor partners and now the addition of Brazeau County in their contributions. This program is being recommended to be turned into tuition assistance bursary. The main changes to the program they will be 5,000 for any accredited post-secondary institution that has an agreement with the CETC, the Community Education and Training Center, and 2,500 and 5,000 for the ones that are the main focus areas of the council's strategic priorities at the time, so healthcare and education. And then for the trades, if there's an accredited post-secondary institution, partnership with the Community Education and Training Center, they would receive eligible up to 2,500. So we ask that you approve the new tuition assistance bursary program, and then administration will roll out a communication strategy for that to promote it and the good work that partnership shown between you and Brazeau County.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Any questions for Ms. Whaley on the report this morning?
I have one question, Nancy, if I may.
Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, just, do we have to rescind anything in terms of zero fee tuition, or are we just saying here's a new one?
Through the chair to Councillor Clark, with the approval of this new policy, it will by and large scrap the original policy of zero fee tuition. So this is an amending policy to an original program.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Clark. Councillor Gamana?
Thank you. I guess just for my clarification again, so this proposed that it need to be a partner, community partner institute that they need to go to. The second piece is that does it say that they need to reside in Drayton Valley and Brazeau County or surrounding areas, or can they be somewhere else?
Through the chair to Councillor Gamana, they must be physical residents of the town of Drayton Valley or Brazeau County. The application form has clarified their physical address as well as their mailing. And they must be attending a program that is with a partnership with the Community Education and Training Center.
Okay, yeah, so that pretty much what we had before.
Yes, with the extension of Brazeau County.
Brazeau County. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jocelyn.
Perfect. Thank you for your question, Amila. Any other questions? Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion? Councillor Gamana?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to make a motion that council approves the tuition assistance bursary policy RFD-25-053.
Thank you very much for your motion. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Gamana, there's a motion on the floor. I did have one quick question. Has this gone to Brazeau County Council for approval at their council meeting?
Madam Mayor, we have not sent this to Brazeau County for approval at their council meeting. It would more be an update report once the town who offers the program, they're coming in as a funding partner, not as a administrator.
Okay,
So-
perfect. Thank you very much for that. And I just want to thank you for Jocelyn for updating our policy. And I know that we've talked a lot about the zero fee tuition. And originally, when we started this journey with the zero fee, it was a great idea. And we were offering zero fee in our first year of inception of this. It was very successful, but with changing times and limited budget, it's now changed to a bursary. So I think it's most fitting. I'm happy to see that Brazeau County has also joined us in supporting this initiative. I know along the way, we've had residents reach out to us wanting to be part of this program. So it's a great way to reskill, educate, and train people in our area for jobs and retention and growth for sure. And I am in full support of the general policy of the eligibility requirements that support the initial economic development goal that this program intended. So thank you very much for capturing all that and for the changes. And I look forward for this program to continue in our community with new partners at the table of Brazeau County. So thanks for that. If there's no further comment, question, or debate, there's a motion on the floor, a very simple motion on the floor. Thank you, Councillor Gamana. I'll now call all in favor.
In favor.
Thank you for that, Colin, and that is carried. So that wraps up that. Next up, we have 9.6, Mr. Vincent, Alberta Council Report to Council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Alberta Council has been actively advocating with the provincial government on behalf of the town of Drayton Valley since early 2024. Attached is a quarterly report outlining the items that have been addressed with the government of Alberta. In discussions at budget time, Council questioned the value of this particular advocacy service. And Mayor Dodds and myself have been meeting bi-weekly with Alberta Council to ensure that we're providing focused direction to them. And one of the requirements that we had put in place is that a regular quarterly report be presented to Council on the number of activities and their particular efforts. So the report provides a comprehensive overview of the government relation activities undertaken on behalf of the town of Drayton Valley during the past quarter. The firm has been actively engaged in advocacy, research, and strategic discussions to advance the town's priorities and address key concerns with the provincial government. So the following summary in the report outlines the specific initiatives and efforts undertaken during the period. So certainly the focused priorities that Council had set out previously are being followed, and those focus areas include health services, economic development, wildfire response and preparedness. More recently, we've added to that the RCMP portable offices, victim services advocacy, and portables for the Star Catholic School Division. And so with the provincial budget, I have not yet heard from Star Catholic if they've received funding approval for their portables. Some of the research that they've done was certainly the new Police Act regulations that's been before Council before, ministerial briefings and correspondence, and meeting and advocacy with MLAs. And certainly we've been privileged to be invited and participate in a number of events and networking, most recently last week at the Leadership Summit, and certainly next week at the RMA. So next steps and ongoing efforts is certainly we'll be continuing to monitor legislative and regulatory changes, coordinating further meetings with key provincial stakeholders, and we're in the process of doing that with a couple of ministers at the present time. They've been providing strategic advice on government relations and supporting municipal participation in government engagement opportunities. Certainly, they're open in our biweekly discussions to receiving further directions and providing greater detail in terms of what we hope to achieve. One of the things that I note in the report is the Minister of Environment and Protective Services. We're exploring the potential for funding under the TIER program for the CETC building. Yesterday afternoon, we had the pleasure of meeting an individual from the province from emissions, ERA, Emissions Reduction Alberta, and explored a number of opportunities that we will be pursuing. So we intend to continue to provide Council with regular updates in this particular format so Council can judge for themselves if we're receiving the value for the particular service. In my respectful opinion, I think we are. And the most recent example of that was Alberta Council identified for us a potential funding source through the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund that would provide up to $9 million toward our $18 million sewer project. If we're successful, it's something that we had not been aware of or identified. So that was, certainly advantageous and gratefully acknowledged. If we get that funding and with the STIP funding or the AMEP funding, we could possibly have 83% of that project totally funded, which would certainly lessen our dependency on having to borrow money, making the project that much more affordable. So those are some of the examples of the benefits that we have been receiving from having Alberta Council on board and advocating for us. And I understand that the mayor may have spoken with the mayor of the city of Chestermere, who recently have engaged Alberta Council as well to assist them in their lobby efforts as to how we have proceeded and have, benefited from their particular service. So be pleased to answer any questions that mayor and council might have, and simply recommend that accept this report as information.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Vincent. Any questions in regards to the report? Councillor Camana?
Thank you. I guess, yeah, thank you for the information. My question is probably regarding the progress. We had before, and we are doing bi-weekly meetings with them now and all that. So are you happy with the progress that we've made after?
Through the chair to Councillor Camana, personally, I am, when it first came on board, it really seemed to be scattered, that there was a lack of direction, specific direction and requests from the town. Now that the mayor and I are meeting on a bi-weekly basis, I see a great improvement in terms of relationship and the response that we're getting. There's been some change in personnel as well that I think has improved the situation in terms of being responsive, but it also defer to the mayor to give her assessment of it as well. But from administrative perspective, Councillor Cabana, absolutely, there's been a huge improvement, and the results, we're seeing action being taken, and we're actually getting some progress occurring. So,
Okay. If I may, my second question, at the Municipal Leaders Caucus, I was talking to other municipalities, and some of them have applied for federal housing accelerator fund. Has there been any discussion with Alberta Council to look at for our community to apply for that?
I don't believe so, but now that you've drawn to our attention, next Tuesday when we have a meeting with them, that's going to be one of the questions we ask them.
Okay. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, I would just comment too that I have seen a significant, I think, improvement in our lobbyist and our efforts. I think that we got off to a slow start for sure, but I think with having the biweekly check-ins and, we have our priority list and what we're working on and what we're hoping that they're driving up for us. I think, we've seen quite a bit of improvement. I know that one of the things that's frustrating all the time is how slow municipal government and everything at government level kind of moves. And I think that for me, when we had hired this lobbyist, I was looking at a quick return on our investment. I was hoping we'd be able to secure some grants and see that return, but I've now discovered that that didn't happen. A lot of the grants are oversubscribed. So, we do have a few grant applications still in that we're getting our lobbyists to be running over and meeting with chief of staffs and advocating. I think when we look back at our strategic priorities and, we've bumped up that advocacy and efforts, I think that's why it's a high priority. Is we have to continue to push Alberta Council and have those meetings with the government. It's unfortunate that we don't have the regular meetings with our MLA. So I think we have to be able to rely on our lobbyist a bit more to push those and a little bit on ourselves to drive these up, and then make sure that we're CCing him on everything and including him. But I do feel like things that have improved. Another thing that was missing from the report was they've come up with an idea. It's called the Hansard Report for Drayton Valley. So out of our priorities, we've identified infrastructure funding, rural health, rural economic development, and municipal funding. So every time that these suggested words are mentioned in the House, either in question period or during member statements or during the legislative debate, that they're kind of tracked and then the results come back and we can see whether these are the things that are on our priority, how much attention they're getting and how much feedback. So it'll be interesting. It just happened, I think last week or the week before was the first report. So we can adjust that too if we're depending on the results. So that's interesting that they're trying something else as well. So we'll see how it goes. They have some work ahead of them. We'll be seeing them again at Councillor Kamana and myself at RMA. So I think, we need to talk about the transportation grants that are at the table and, being successful with those, as well as our economic and education initiatives. I think those are two things that we can, make sure that we're having discussions with Alberta Council and ensuring that they're driving those, right? And even the Covenant Health one that we've applied for that assessment, having that further conversation. So, hopeful that, we'll keep things moving ahead like they are, and we'll just keep tracking how Alberta Council is doing, right? Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion to accept the report as information? Councillor Evans.
Sorry about that. I'll make the motion that council accept the Alberta Council report as information.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Evan. Any question, comment, debate on the motion? Then I'll call the motion. All in favor? Councillor Clark?
Yeah, I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, and that is carried. And that wraps up our decision items for this morning. Next up is council reports. I'll start with you, Councillor Clark, if you have anything to report this morning.
No, I don't really have anything to report right now. We did have a youth advisory committee meeting yesterday. But there's going to be a couple things following up from that. I think, we had our rec board meeting as well. And I think I'd like to kind of marry the two up in terms of having, like, we're talking about the 10-year plan, strategic plan for rec. And I'd like to loop the youth advisory committee into that and maybe have some representation from the youth on there. So I'll be bringing that to our next rec board meeting.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Evans.
Not a lot to report. Attended our municipal leaders conference in Edmonton for a couple of days last week. And then let me see, on Monday, I had a Yellowhead Regional Library board meeting. Mostly funding allocation, that kind of stuff was covered there. That's about it for me. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Gmana.
Thank you. For me, 28th, I attended the Alberta Munis Budget Town Hall for the provincial government budget that they just passed. From 5th to 7th of March, I was at the Municipal Leaders Caucus with a couple of other fellow councillors as well. It was very well attended this year. I think one of the highest attended municipal leaders caucuses, and there were ministers and the premier was there as well. So I think it was a worthwhile conference to attend. On the 11th, had the joint rec committee meeting. As discussed, we talked about 10-year master plan for rec, social and cultural facilities in the community. And also there was some good news that the Brazeau County Council approved the $500 caveat to nonprofit and community organizations that the town of Great Merrill can decide up to $500 now. It doesn't need to go to county council. So I think that's a win, and that's shows that we work with our neighbors very closely. The same day, I had the opportunity to go to DVHTA Community Connection. I was very well attended, and there were different community groups and organizations. It was an interesting evening. I was set up like a speed dating session where you go to each and every one of the other community organization and talk about what you do, and have a conversation with the other organization what they do. I think it was.
Who hosted that again? Sorry.
DVHTA, the hospital and
was that last night?
Last night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was fun. It was very informative, and I really enjoyed it. And there was some from town of Drayton Valley as well. Brazeau County was there, and different organizations from the community as well. So yeah, it was very well organized. On the 10th, had the meeting with with the MP Dan Lloyd. I think with the changes to the riding, there's a chance that he will be running on our riding. So it was good to meet him virtually and get to know him. And of course, what's happening with the federal politics, you never know when there will be an election coming. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report. Yeah, I missed that. That would have been exciting kind of event. I like how it's not just your typical mix and mingle, right? And mix it up with something like that, a speed dating. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So for myself, it's been a busy last couple of weeks. It seems like It had about a week off in the beginning of January, and then it's just been full speed ahead again. And so I've been busy everywhere. I've been into the legislature a couple times. The first was for budget reading and Q&A. That was probably the shortest budget reading I think that I've ever attended. I wasn't expecting it to be that short, but it was interesting enough. Then I headed back, had a meeting with Minister Lowen in regards to wildfire and safety and things like that. Attended the Spring Leaders Caucus, which was a fantastic turnout. There wasn't as many ministers as I was hoping, just because it was constituent week, so they were kind of back and forth, and I feel that they were kind of double and triple booked, so we didn't get a whole lot of one-on-one time, but we did get to have a little bit of conversation, so hopefully at RMA we can engage with them and push some of our things up as well. There has been two women's events that have happened in the last few weeks. One was hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. It was the first Women in Business event that they've had in quite some time. So it was a success. It was nice to see some vendors there and some sessions and businesses supporting businesses. That was nice. I attended as well and got to be on the panel of Raise the Ceiling at the Nodding Donkey on the weekend. And it was a fantastic day to celebrate International Women's Day. I think that we got raw and we got open and we discussed leadership and politics and women in business and supporting and empowering each other. It was nice to see some young ladies in the audience too that felt that it was a good event and they left feeling inspired. So thank you to both Jocelyn and Jen for pulling that off and doing such a fantastic job. And to all the ladies on the panel and our MC that really made that such a special day. It was really nice. So again, I like, how you said we're doing different things, Amila, like the dating and things like this. It's a great way to get the community engaged and get people talking and spread the word and supporting one another. I know that coming out of the recession, we've seen a lot of our vacant spots downtown. So it's nice to see that those we don't have as many vacant spots and it's women that are leading those businesses. And I think that they're doing a great job of supporting one another. I know it's hard to be any individual in business, right? You want to do the best and you want your business to be successful. So it's nice when we see other business owners supporting and empowering other business owners, like they all collaborate together and help each other out to try, to ensure that their businesses stay open and successful. And, it's just a reminder how our community pulls together. So lots of great things happening and really busy. And that wraps up my report. Oh, and then of course, I met with Dane Lloyd again, and heard his platform. So the best of luck to him in the next campaign. And that is it. So is there a member of council that would like to make a motion to accept the council reports as information?
Sure.
Councillor Urbana?
I'll make that motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much for that. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Colin. That is carried. Next up is roundtable discussion, number 12, council items. Does council have any items up for discussion this morning? I do have one that I just wanted to bring. Miss Terry isn't here, but maybe Mr. Vincent can help me with this one. One of the things that I've been getting a lot of questions and comments in the community are, of course, potholes. And I know that we have a customer service porthole that has been fabulous in giving the residents an opportunity to file their concerns or issues, and then that's how we address them. One of the questions I think that I've been getting quite a bit is that they use the customer service porthole, they report a pothole, and then I'll use there was a big pothole on Beckett Road as an example. And then there was a couple potholes before it. So the pothole on Beckett Hole got filled, but the couple potholes from before didn't. So the question is if you're en route to fill that pothole, wouldn't you fill the couple other that get you there? Or is it based on whatever's on your list to fill that day? And kind of how does that work? Because, I haven't been getting a lot of positive questions. And then myself too, I was wondering, it would make sense to save time as you'd kind of fill them all along the way. So maybe you could explain our process a little bit, Mr. Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to the chair, to all members of council. It's the perfect storm in terms of weather and condition of our roads. Potholes have sprung up. It's almost like measles It's an epidemic of potholes, in our particular streets. And I've driven many of the streets in Drayton Valley myself, just to simply observe. So we're attempting to use cold mix at the present time. We have the machinery, a pothole filler that is the ideal, but until the snow has primarily left for the season, it's very, very difficult to be able to, we're not in a good position to use that particular machine because we use a hot mix to fill in the potholes in those particular cases. So it is a Band-Aid situation. Staff are trying to do their best, but when I drive different streets or drive the same street, today there may not be any pothole, tomorrow there's 2 or 3 potholes. So we're simply trying to do our best. We are encouraging the public to continue to report the potholes. In fact, we're going to be starting, I think, the 1st of April with a pothole prize or a prize for people reporting potholes that will select a name of one resident and offer a gift card just for the public's help in terms of identifying this. And again, they get on a list. We try to get to them as quickly as possible. So we will take some pictures and perhaps video clips when we're out there to reassure members of the public we're actually responding. And oftentimes we'll respond in a day, and because of the traffic on the road and, weather conditions, freeze-thaw cycle, whatever repairs you might make that day might not, last for 2 or 3 days as a result of that. But it is a concern, and transportation is always a key issue for people getting to and from work, getting children to school, getting to the grocery store, etc. So we commit to do our very best to attend to those particular things as quickly as possible.
Thank you very
Madam
much
Mayor.
for that. I do believe Ms. Terry is online. Shelley, did you want to comment on this?
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. Just like Pat said, it's very challenging with the freeze-thaw conditions. He did very well explaining it. We also had limited supply at that time, so we had to get some more cold mix in, and so we were working with suppliers to get that in, and we did get it in, and then it snowed, and we're back to square one again. So like he said, it's just a really challenging season. We've seen the snow melt a lot quicker this year, and with the freeze thaw cycles, and it created a lot more potholes this season than we anticipated. And we'll get on it, but now we're going to see 15 centimeters of snow tomorrow. So we will hold off until conditions are favorable and get back on there. And we will do temporary fixes. Right now, we're just focusing on critical potholes that are the largest, that we really need to get tackled so that we can appease the public.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Terry. So I guess then for the customer service porthole, I guess to keep reporting the potholes to that. And then once we get a supply of that and the weather starts to, I guess, behave a little bit more in our favor, then I guess what would be the intention is that if you're en route to fill a pothole that's on the customer service portal, that our Public Works would fill potholes along the way. Is that kind of what the understanding is?
Correct. We would take a much more strategic approach once we're ready to really kick it off.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it helps too, I think, that for people that are online or in our gallery, then that way we have a better understanding of what our processes are and how, because rather than if you don't know, then you don't know, right? And of course, yeah, we don't know if we're going into spring or we're going into summer or we're still in winter yet either. So Councillor Gramani, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, regarding that, we go through this every year. We have these challenges. I think what worked before was that, putting some communication out there to say that, this is the challenges that we have, and this is why it's not it's not easy to do right now, but stay tuned. As soon as the conditions are favorable, then we will tackle that, right? So I know, our communication department and Jenny has been doing a fantastic job, before. Maybe we can do the same this year as well and then put some more communication out there. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I always think it's good to communicate and let people know, and then that sometimes can quiet down some of the questions or concerns that we get, and this is why we do it or we don't, right? Any other roundtable discussions? Councillor Clark, do you have anything? No. Okay, we'll move along to our information items. We have 3 information items this morning. The first is the Province of Alberta Order in Council, February 26, 2025. Next up is Provincial Priorities Act, Minister signed letter. 13.3 is Minister MacIver, Provincial Budget 2025. And then we had the addition of, what was the addition? The minister, or the letter from Minister LaGrange is 13.4. This morning, is there a member of council that would like to accept the information items as information?
Madam Mayor, before you do so, may I make just 2 comments?
Sure.
So item 13.2 and 13.1 are connected. 13.2 is the letter from the minister on the Provincial Priorities Act. And item 13.1 is actually the order in council that came with that particular letter. I just wanted to point out for council's benefit and for the benefit of residents in the town of Drayton Valley, effective April 1st, which is only a couple of weeks away, municipalities will be required to submit information on all new agreements with the federal government, any amendments and any renewals, along with the copy of the agreement to Alberta Municipal Affairs, regardless of the monetary value of the agreement with the federal government. We talk about red tape reduction. This flies in the face of that particular concept. We're assured that it won't jeopardize our municipal operation, but it sets in place a couple extra steps that simply will delay things and take time of administration to compile this information and submit it to the department. So just wanted to make council aware of that. If we report delays, then certainly you will understand. Second comment, Madam Mayor, members of council's letter from Minister LaGrange. This is in response to the letter that Mayor Dodd sent to Honorable Danielle Smith, the Premier, and it's in regards to our request for approval to proceed with a community health needs assessment study. And in the final paragraph of the letter, Minister LaGrange says, a planning process has been established to determine healthcare needs and to prioritize future development. Alberta Health will continue to evaluate community proposals to address health service issues across the province. We are invited to contact Claire Tuttle, the Executive Director, Systems Planning Branch, Alberta Health, with regards to submitting a proposal for the funding to proceed with our study. So since council's already passed a resolution, this simply is coming forward for information. It's a report and update, and I will be following up this afternoon by contacting Ms. Tuttle to get that process going and to acquire the funding. We understand there's $100,000 available, and to retain services of a recognized healthcare consultant to undertake the study. So just a quick update for council. Things do move forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And then just maybe as a little note, Mr. Vincent, for the Provincial Priorities Act, to add that to our Alberta Council next meeting, just to, I guess, ask the question, if we're successful in obtaining, say, even like the grants that we have in with transportation, is this going to hold up the process, right? Or is this going to, like you said, streamline or hold it up?
So, Madam Mayor, normally the grants for transportation will be coming from the province of Alberta. The Priorities Act affect any federal funding that would come. So
The one, I guess, for the wastewater treatment where we're matching the provincial and the federal, the
Yeah.
Canadian or Canada
Canada Housing.
Housing, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, that one.
The, Infrastructure Fund. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion to accept his information? Councillor Gamana?
So moved.
Thank you for that. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you for that. That is carried. And that wraps up our agenda. All we have left is a closed session. Is there a member of council that would like to move us into closed session? Councillor Gamana?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion that council moves into closed session at 11:14 a.m. in accordance with FOIP section 16 -1 3 I and III. 1 and 3.
Oh, thank you for that motion.
Roman numeric.
Thank you for that motion, Councillor Gamana. All in favor? Aye.
In favor.
Oh, that is carried. Thanks, ladies. It hasn't come before council. You received a brief update. eVentures is a regional electric vehicle charging network strategy. The town partnered with the municipal district of Greenview, city of Grand Prairie, town of Whitecourt, town of Edson, town of Hinton, town of Rocky Mountain House, and the city of Edmonton to form the committee to work with eVentures and the CEA, a nonprofit society that implements climate-related initiatives for a charging network, electric vehicle charging network across that region of municipalities I've just named. The service provider that was procured at the time was ATCO. A grant was actually approved. This was a very delayed grant, but it's been approved recently. The location that the town had picked for charging stations is the parking lot directly behind EPAC. And the $3.1 million funding grant is contingent that all of the partners stay in. Unfortunately, ATCO notified the committee that they want to pop out. So the CEA reached out to Natural Resources Canada, and they have requested that all of the municipalities involved send letters to Minister Wilkinson. So by and large, the ask today is that council approve a letter to Minister Jonathan Wilkinson regarding eVentures and electric vehicles. The letter is ready or will be ready shortly for the mayor's signature should it be so approved. Thank you.
So what are the options that we have if ATCO is withdrawn from it? Can we pick another service provider?
Through the chair to CAO Vincent, the NRCan has advised that they don't agree with the changing of the service provider. And that's why they're requesting that the minister intervene or allow the grant to change so you can change your service provider, but it's not an option at this time, so.
So Madam Chair, through the chair to Jocelyn, is there a backup service provider that's been identified that we should be saying to the minister that if you approve this, we've got another service provider that we want you to consider?
Through the chair, the committee has not yet met. They are doing the letter writing campaign first, and I believe have actually arranged to meet with ATCO individually starting next week with Rocky Mountain House. So times are being set up, and then the committee will meet to hopefully procure a different provider if that comes down to it.
Okay.
And sorry, did you say how many have backed out or if the 9 different?
Only ATCO has asked to back out.
And have you heard from the municipalities?
All
about
of
what-
them are sending letters.
They're all sending letters. Okay. Does council have any questions? This sounds like a bit of a update and a waiting game, or, yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Evans.
So again, they're just trying to get permission to work with somebody other than ATCO, because right now, since ATCO pulled out, they've said, okay, it's done.
NRCan.
Whatever, NRC. Yeah,
NRCan, Natural Resources Canada.
NRCan, okay. Yeah. So they really were just saying we want to look at other options and still get the funding.
Yes,
And the
that
plan
is
is-
by and large the content of the letter.
Yeah.
Here's the history, here's what's going forward, and please allow us to identify a new provider.
Yeah. And in the end, we're still looking for a no cost on our part
Mm-hmm.
deal. That's what the deal was in the beginning. If we said, yeah, we'll give you this place, they said, okay, we'll cover all the costs, et cetera.
Yes, the
Okay.
original agreement hasn't changed with CEA, and eVentures, but the provider is, the electrical portion is rather required.
Yeah, quite important, quite important. Okay, thank you.
Was there a deadline on that the funding is available for? Like, do we have a timeline?
Madam Mayor, I'm not aware of an expiry deadline
Okay.
at the moment. It was only recently announced within the last 6 weeks.
Okay, so I guess the recommendation is to await Natural Resources Canada decision on the matter. Is that
To sign a letter to
Oh,
Natural
oh,
Resources Canada.
approve the e-venture funding request letter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, oh, and thank you. Oh, okay. The letter's on my desk, okay. Right, that is, and I appreciate the photos. Thank you for the photos. I always like photos and maps.
Yes.
Mhm.
Kundi's put together a very comprehensive number of reports for this agenda, so.
Good. So if there's no other questions, we're good. We'll have a motion coming out of this. Yeah, we have to have it when we're out. So the motion coming out will be to approve the eVentures funding request letter as defined. You want to do that one? Okay, perfect. Thank you for that, Jocelyn. Next up is 14.2 EPAC expansion phase 2.
And thank you, Madam Chair, the Mayor, to the rest of Council. So this is in front of us based on the fact that we talked about it before, but there's, let's say, has a request to open up the conversation again. So, of course, the EPAC Center did the extension back in 2006. That was phase 1. At that moment, of course, phase 2 was, let's say, on paper in the books as well, to be done at a later time in the future. At the regular meeting of January 29th, when we discussed this matter as well, the EPAC board and delegation came, presented what they were doing or what they were asking to to do and bring forward their ideas. And of course, that was a closed session discussion. The motion that came out of that meeting was that council accepted the report for the Eleanor Pickup Center as information. Of course, that basically means that the proposal item that's then in front of council is then basically dead in the water. Being dead in the water was something that we discussed afterwards. I got an email from Sandra Bernard and conversations happened because they were looking, of course, for a support from council to continue with their planning and their expansion of the EPAC called Phase 2. In the meantime, also Brusau County did have the same presentation from EPAC, and they moved that the motion, as you see in front of you, that the design concept of the expansion for the facility was basically supported by council, and any budgetary question or impact would come back to Brusau County for approval. Currently, of course, the design that they brought forward, we discussed that a little bit in the other in-council, in-camera meeting as well. The 9,000 square feet divided in 2 floors for making sure that they have the ability to host bigger events. Dressing rooms are expanded, a green room, and on top of that, 2 apartments to make the operations sustainable for the expansion and the operations of the EPAC in total. The current building location, and that's the most important thing, of course, to consider, is that it's taken up the open space where currently is a walkway that the community can use for, let's say, faster access to the parking lot on the backside for the downtown corridor, situation that did not exist before the EPAC was built because it was another building in there. So in front of you, basically the crux is to discuss this right now, to bring this yay or nay back next March 20th. That's in camera then as well for the GMP meeting. And I say the crux because, again, when this is in front of council, there's basically 3 options that you see in the recommendations. The first one is to bring it back. The EPAC delegation is able and ready to come and have the discussion again with council on the 20th. That's the first and recommended direction from this at this moment. The other 2 alternatives are to have at this moment straight away, of course, council express their support for the current planning that they have and make basically the decision to say you can go ahead, same as Brusau County did, with the contingency, of course, that any financial impact will come back later for council's decision. So that's one alternative. The other alternative is to make the decision right now to solidify basically the dead in the water principle that I said and take this report for information, which then signals to the group that there is no support for council for the current concept that they brought forward to do the extension and take the whole lot in between those 2 buildings as an expansion of their EPAC center. So there's 3 options, but the recommendation is to bring this back in discussion with EPAC next week, then on the Thursday, of course, on March 20th for discussion and direction.
Thank you very much for your report.
So, Madam Mayor, if I might be so bold, we, my colleague Rudy Friesen and myself, being the management board for EPAC, had a tour of the facility a week ago Friday. And during that conversation, it was made clear to us that EPAC will not go ahead with expansion if they can't be to the full extent of the width of the available property, which includes that walkway. In the discussions that council had, it seemed to me that council was not supportive of an expansion that would remove or impinge upon that sidewalk, that walkway. So I think we need to have a discussion. If council is of the mind that that walkway stays there, then I think that's the end of the plans for EPAC and their expansion. I think to lead them on to think that there's a possibility the town might change their mind, they do all this fundraising, and then they can't proceed with their expansion plans. I think it'll be highly criticized and might become a hot potato and election issue. So I think we have to make the determination, is the council's position that we support the expansion to whatever extent? And can we work out the differences that maybe you have to build a tunnel walkway through your expansion to allow, traffic? Because I know last Saturday when people were parking to attend the function at Nodding Donkey, a lot of people used that particular walkway. It was convenient to do so. And I think that's the crux of the matter. So we need some direction. And I guess that's rule number 3 is it got your back. Don't want it to be a hot potato in the community and political issues. So give us some direction and let's, act on it, please.
Thank you for that. Councillor Evans, do you have a comment, question?
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's the concern. I don't know if it's unreasonable of us to expect people to walk around the block to get to that street, or we want to keep that. The walkway is very convenient and it comes from the major source of parking. Well used, as you said. I'm curious, would these folks be required to have like a public open house, or have they received any feedback or look for any feedback from the businesses along Main Street with regards to closing that walkway?
So thank you for that question, Councillor Evans, and through the chair. So basically, it's 2 questions. The permitting process is, of course, basically an administrative process. The location land use bylaw determines you can build something in there. So it's not that it cannot be done. It's just basically the permitting process. And that's why we, of course, as administration need certain direction, because otherwise the permitting process will take it. That does not have a public engagement mandatory in there. So then it would be almost an administrative behind the scenes process. Okay, so thank you for that addition over there. The other one is that they have a consultation. They had, let's say, minimal consultation with the surrounding businesses. So they did not have a in-depth. What they told us so far, that there was no objections and they didn't encounter any, let's say, direct naysayers in their process, but not that they had a, let's say, a full-on process with the neighborhood in that sense.
And thank you for that. And they have, they have no interest in trying to work that walkway into their design.
Yeah, thank you for that question. There's a potential. So in their process, when they retained an architect, a constructor, they had that as an option in there, and they decided in their process to go with a full take on the whole section over there, because that's part of their best operations that they decided. So they took it in consideration and they basically voted, or they ended up with the conclusion, the full extent of that property to be taken as an expansion.
So I guess the bottom line is we need to decide whether we want that, to keep that walkway or not, and then let them know so they can either scrap it or adjust their design. It's the bottom line.
Thank you for that. Councillor Evans, Councillor Gramana?
Thank you. Yesterday I had a brief chat with Sandra, and exactly that's what was mentioned. The current process that they took, they didn't consider a walkway, and they were looking at the whole area to be used. I think, I've mentioned that from our side, we would like to have some kind of a walkway. It doesn't need to be a 8-feet walkway, but could be a 3-feet walkway that can go back and forth and all that. So that's, I think they understand what we are looking for, and we understand what they are trying to do. So, it's just a matter of having more discussions with them. I don't think we need to hinder their progress. I think we can say that, of course, by all means, go ahead. It's just a matter of technicality that we're trying to figure out. In the end of the day, there has been a building in the middle there before. So if people has to walk around, then it's not convenient. But again, is it the end of the world, right? That's what we need to have the conversation with them and figure out. Personally, I would like to have a walkway, and I understand that it will be very convenient for people to go back and forth. But then again, I would like to have EPAC expanded as well. So, it's just a matter of negotiating.
Thank you for your comment. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just as a administrative item as well, if there's going to be a consideration and a conversation about a walkway that, let's say, anywhere from 3 feet or a little bit wider or whatever that looks like, it is important to then consider operations as well for the town, because that means most likely that's going to be a walkway maintained by the town. At current, we do that. When we talk about a walkway between 2 walls of an existing building and a 2-story high building that's going to be next to it, that's to be considered as well. So in that process, I do encourage, let's say, us to take administrative considerations, or at least point of view in consideration as well.
Thank you for that. And you also have to keep in mind crime prevention through environmental design. So now you're shortening that walkway. It's going to be a dark, narrow, things to consider there. I am in favor of the motion that Brazeau County had passed at their council meeting to support the concept. I think it is a design concept of the expansion. I had the pleasure of attending the Fiddler on the Roof. It was 3 nights, and it was a very well received and attended performance. And just to see the community so excited about having the theater and the performers, it felt like, I love the theater. It felt like I was at the Citadel or the Windspear attending something. Like, I was shocked to know that some of those performers are from our area, some were from outside. And it was absolutely spectacular. When we arrived, we parked at the back. And because there was no change rooms, ACR had rentals and portables out back, so you couldn't go through. Everyone had to walk around, and no one complained. No one said anything. Not one person. So for me to actually see that, because at first I thought, oh my gosh, I got to walk around, and there was nothing. And I thought, does it really matter to the community that much about that walkway, right? After experiencing it 3 nights, nobody said a word. It's not that far to walk around. And then I also being in there and actually seeing the performers, because it was quite cold out and they were having to change all the time, running in and out and do things like that. And plus it was the night that there was no power. The power had gone out in the community. So there was so many factors, and it just was such a success. And just to be able to have that, for me, to have the arts and culture and an opportunity that I don't have to drive to Edmonton to see the theater, I think outweighs, I think, the little bit of having to walk around. So for me, it just completely solidified my vote and where I'd like to see this go, because I think that it's, having a community of our size to have something like that is pretty spectacular, I think, to be celebrated. So I'm happy to support this. I do think that as the project moves forward, that there will be that business consultation and they'll have the feedback. I know that the project is quite large too. I'm hoping they'll be successful in raising this amount of money. I'm not too sure if they will, but maybe that would change the scope of the project as well. Whether it was 2 floors or quite as wide, that could come in. I think it's at very early stages that we're, I think deciding on the walkway and things like that. I think a lot of it will unfold as it moves forward. And I'd like to see, this expansion in some sort of form move ahead, and I would welcome and be in favor of supporting it. So those are just my 2 cents from myself. Councillor Clark, do you have any comments or questions?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I guess my only reservation is just the cost, right? They're looking at 4.5, but every year it goes up by 15%, I think is what their estimation was. And personally, I think there's other things I'd rather have done before expansion of the EPAC, like stuff that we don't have. Yeah, I mean, I'm supportive of them kind of taking a look and seeing what it would take. And I think we need to be really clear on what we're approving here, right?
So the motion, so there's a recommendation that council direct administration to bring it back to GMP. And then the alternate would be the same motion from Brazeau County that was to support the EPAC in their design concept. I think design concept is the key of the expansion of the facility. Provided any budgetary impact, it would be to Drayton Valley be brought back to council for approval. So with that being said, Councillor Clark, do you support that?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
So Madam Mayor, through the chair to all of council, if you do that, you're saying by supporting that concept, we're eliminating the sidewalk. That's the concept.
I don't believe, well, I mean,
That is the concept.
yeah.
And so if you pass that resolution,
Yeah.
that's a foregone conclusion that the sidewalk is no longer going to be there, which makes public consultation moot because that decision's already been made. So I would suggest you may want to add one step, invite EPAC to the Governance and Priorities Committee meeting for next Thursday, talk with them and say, we generally support the concept that you have. We have a concern with regards to public response to the elimination of that sidewalk. We would like you guys to undertake some public consultation. We'll have staff to facilitate or assist you. You hold it at EPAC. It's an open house. Show your concept. Invite all the business owners to that. And we need you to not only invite them, we need you to go to talk to every business owner along the street in that area and do a consultation, bring it back so that you have full disclosure. And then based on that feedback, then be brought back to council to pass a resolution similar to Brazeau County. Otherwise, if you short circuit that, I think you're going to bring a lot of criticism upon yourself unnecessarily. Let them do the work. It's their project. We like the concept, but there's an issue, and that's, pedestrian traffic. From our perspective, if it's not a major impediment, let's just check with the business community, because that'd be the last thing that you want is, somebody saying, oh God, you're cutting into my business, what the hell are you guys doing over there, sort of thing. So that would be my strongest recommendation.
Thank you for that. I don't disagree. I think my only concern is when you use the words in public response, restricting pedestrian traffic, I haven't heard anything. So I'm just wondering, in the public response, is it just in the opinions of everyone around the table that we're assuming? Because I haven't heard anything from the public. I don't know if anyone else has about this project.
Well, I guess my question is who's aware of it is the question.
Exactly, right, yeah.
Just because you haven't heard doesn't mean people aren't concerned. If they don't know what they should be concerned about, then of course you're not going to hear anything.
Well, I know at the event there were people talking about it. So I was just under the assumption that it was that the EPAC and everyone there have been talking about it. I don't know if I was getting, what's the word I'm using? I don't know if I was being purposely approached to say, do you know what I mean? Hey, like, it would be great if, like, because that's how I was perceiving. I was like, oh, wow. And then I was getting that encouragement to go ahead with the project from people specifically at the event. So that's where I was getting my feedback, thinking nobody here seems to even be bothered. They want to see this go ahead, right? Rick?
Yeah, and you're getting it from people who are there enjoying the show
Yeah.
and who are supporters. I agree that I think that if they have the plan out, they give the businesses all along the street there or in close proximity the opportunity to look at the plan, understand that, yeah, they won't have that walkway available and then give their feedback. I would feel much better at that point approving it and moving ahead. Again, I agree with you. It's not a lot of steps to get around the block there. And, you know, it's not too out of the ordinary not to have a walkway there, but I think that there's probably a lot of, or at least a few of those businesses appreciate having that direct access. And if it turns out that there's a solid push to keep that walkway, then I think there is, without too much difficulty, a way that they can adjust their plan to have a 4-foot walkway. They can drive piles in on the side and just have it doesn't need to go, the wall doesn't need to sit there, but they could cut out a notch with a 4-foot walkway there that's say 8 or 10 feet tall. You know, they could make it work. It may be a bit of a problem, but I would feel better about kind of throwing our full support behind this once we've heard from the folks within the vicinity there.
Mayor, members of council, don't want to be fastidious here, but if you remember Pillar 1, your last priority, make public engagement resonate with residents, and the desired results is Drayton Valley residents are increasingly educated and positively engaged about the life and the future of their town. You'd be cutting your legs off at the knees by.
You put that in there, right?
Yeah.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
if it's appropriate, if you just, when we come out of closed session, to accept the report simply as information, and we will schedule the EPAC executive to meet in closed session with council just to discuss the issue. Say, look, generally there's support, but there's a bit of a ticklish issue. Here's what we want you to do. And based on that, depending on, the feedback and public consultation, council would be prepared to look at passing a resolution similar to Brazeau County. You guys good with that? Okay, go off, do your work. Let's do it.
Okay, so that would be going on the recommendation that council directed Min to bring the EPAC to the GNP meeting of March 20th. Does that give the EPAC committee time to come?
Yeah, we've already put them on notice.
Oh, you have? Okay, perfect. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so, yeah. Yeah,
So it's a recommendation in the report that council direct administration to bring back the expansion report to governance and priorities.
for the March 20th, okay. So we have two motions coming out of closed. Is there a member of council who would like to move us out of closed? Councillor Evans, thank you.
I'll move us out of closed.
At 11:46 a.m.
I'll make the motion that we moved out of close at 11:40, what, 6?
6 a.m.
At 11:46 a.m.
Thank you very much for that. All in favor?
In
That
favor.
is carried. Okay, so we have a couple motions out of closed. Is there a member of council that would like to make the first motion for 14.1, eVentures funding request letter? Councillor Gamana? Oh, yeah. Okay, Councillor Evans?
Okay, I'll make the motion that council approve the eVenture funding request letter as defined in report RFD-25-056.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? Then I'll call the motion. All in favor?
In favor.
That is carried. Next up, we have a motion coming out of closed for 14.2, which is the EPACT expansion phase 2, RFD 25050. Councillor Gamana?
I would like to make motion that council direct administration to bring the EPAC expansion phase 2 report to the governance and priorities meeting on March 20th, 2025, including information as requested by council for discussion and direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the motion. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? I would just add that I think that this is a great project that I'd like to see expanded in the community. I'm in support of arts and culture and adding. I attended a recent play of Fiddler on the Roof, which was fantastic, put on by Mr. Wan's Dance School. There was much talent and performers in our community, and I would be happy to see this expansion go ahead, with the exception of that downtown business consultation, just to ensure that we're supporting not only the arts and cultures, but our local businesses. And the only concern, I guess, that I would have would be echo that of councils for the walkthrough that is currently there. If there's a way that we can configure or work the project around that, or maybe nobody cares and they're willing to cover it right up. So that will be determined at, I guess we need to make, did you make the motion? You made the motion. That will be determined at our next March 20th. Wow. I was talking to myself. I was like, okay, did we make the motion? At the March 20th, 2025. I was looking at you thinking you didn't make the motion. So there is a motion on the floor, and I will just end my comment right there. Wow, that was a moment. And I'll call it all in favor. That
In favor.
is carried. Okay, so that wraps it up. There will be no further motions, and we'll adjourn the meeting at 11:49 a.m.
So Madam Mayor, Member Council, we had anticipated this council meeting go a little bit longer. We have lunch ordered, so you're welcome to stay for lunch. Also, because we have 2 members of council absent today, we won't proceed with the CEO council briefing. I think that would be appropriate.
Okay, perfect. Did you
Okay.
hear that, Colin? We're going to adjourn for lunch, and then we'll discuss the CAO briefing next at our GNP if we have time
Yeah.
next week.
Please. If all
You
members,
betcha.
Thank
if all
you.
members of council are back, that would be appropriate.
Wonderful. Thank you.